Were you brought up hearing education is the key to success, and gaining a good degree will open many doors for a bright future? You are not alone. We all did. But what they forgot to tell is that the lock is no longer the same, and the key is now unfortunately out of date. According to recent statistics, the total student loan debt in the US is around a whopping $1.77 trillion. This is an aggregate amount of both federal and private student loans. An average student loan debt per borrower amounts to around $39,000. Although you can find big variations depending on the degree and institution, according to a recent report published by Interval Analytics, almost 43 million Americans carry federal student loan debt, with $1.64 trillion in outstanding dues. This is more than the entire population of Canada or Poland living in student debt. High student loan debts not only cause financial strain to borrowers, delay their major life milestones, complicate their career decisions, but also result in an economic drag. All the billions of dollars that could be spent on life goals, investment, or real estate go towards loan repayments, reducing wealth-building opportunities. But despite all these known consequences, student loans, unfortunately, are expected to stay. You may have seen strong promises made during election campaigns on forgiving student loans as the main agenda of various parties. The truth? The same promises are easily broken in offices, and this happens every time after elections. But why? Why is this forgiveness considered a political mirage, which is quite clear from afar, but almost non-existent when you explore it closer? Forgiveness of student loan debts is often considered a vital point in speeches to gain attention and grab votes. However, real politics starts when the same leaders who promise to work for the people take the seats and only think about their financial gains. Joe Biden, once in his campaigns, told a Wisconsin crowd about the life-changing plan he has in mind for student loan cancellation to allow financial relief for more than 30 million Americans. However, most of the plans have turned people's hopes into resignation and disillusionment. In fact, Donald Trump, during one of his campaigns, questioned Harris and Biden on their failure to deliver their promise of the entire student loan debt cancellation. He labeled their words of assurances as a total catastrophe that taunted young people. The conclusion is simple. Political leaders have no interest in building plans to give students relief. All they want is to gain temporary sympathies to grab the votes in every election. Even if the political leaders agree with forgiving loan debts, the U.S. legal system always interferes with its own motives. This has happened many times, most recently in 2023 when the Supreme Court appealed against Biden's student loan relief program. This was a major blow to more than 40 million borrowers in America. The courts don't completely oppose the idea of forgiveness. However, they are usually against the way the executive branch implements it. For instance, Biden's efforts in forgiving loan debts through the HEROES Act were considered an overreach of power during the Biden versus Nebraska court case. The plan was a major economic decision and, according to the law, must not proceed without clear authority from Congress. Besides, according to the court, the loan debt forgiveness plan invoked a law, aka the HEROES Act, for a purpose that it wasn't initially intended to serve, making the whole implementation useless. There is a strong argument that forgiving student loans isn't a fair move for people who have already repaid theirs. When President Biden announced the cancellation of up to $20,000 in student debt for federal borrowers in 2022, he was met with cries of disagreement. The Senate Minority Leader at the time, Mitch McConnell, labeled student loan socialism as a slap in the face to every family who had already paid the debt. He considered the move an abuse of every American who chose a certain career path over their passion and dreams to pay off the debt. The same narrative flows today, which is why forgiveness of student loans is considered an unfair deal by many. According to many critics, canceling loans highlights the wrong message, which is that debt doesn't matter. Plus, if agreed on, it may lead to other forgiveness movements, with people asking for the same relief on their mortgages and credit cards. While this forgiveness can result in increased spending with all the extra money, improve credit scores, and encourage people to complete their degrees without worrying about limited funds, the move may blow up the economy in more ways than you can imagine. The elimination of student loan debts can cost the government hundreds of billions, and that's one of the major reasons that you may never enjoy this relief. If your government agrees to finance student loan forgiveness through deficit spending, the result would be increased inflation. That's because the supply of money would increase without an increase in the supply of services and goods. Besides, this favor is a major expense that may lead to higher interest rates on government debts. Also, try stepping in the shoes of a taxpayer who may not have benefited from higher education. Forgiveness of student loans is considered a disproportionate and unfair financial burden on people who might never have used the money for their favor. Let's take the last point a bit further. You may consider the forgiveness of student loan debts as a progressive move, but if looked at deeply, it elevates the division of class. Imagine being an individual who enters the workforce earlier than others and never attended college, but is asked to pay taxes to fund someone else's loan forgiveness. Wouldn't you question this rule? Why would you have to pay for a stranger's mathematics degree when you yourself couldn't attend it due to unavailable funds? Besides, people with graduate degrees, such as lawyers and doctors, have the largest loan balances. Critics believe that the wealthier with high earnings in the future are more likely to benefit from loan forgiveness than those with average incomes. The wealthier class here gets more relief than those who are still struggling to make ends meet. Student loan forgiveness was initially designed to level the playing field, but when implemented in a system that divides people according to their class, it becomes more of a weapon than a relief. Result: people tend to go against it. Your university or educational institution wants you to pay that loan, which is why they demand that political parties eliminate any forgiveness plans. This may be a shocking revelation, but unfortunately, that's an undeniable truth. Colleges are well aware that federal student loans are easily available throughout the country. This benefit allows them to raise their tuition prices every year. According to a report by the Education Data Initiative, the average cost of college tuition and fees at four-year institutions has increased by almost 179.2% in the last 2 decades. Why, you wonder? That's because the government guarantees college and university payment through student loans, eliminating any market pressure to keep their costs low. Let's make it simple. With college loans available, students can always borrow more, and that means that colleges can always charge more. Our education system is dependent on student loans. Forgiveness would only disrupt this cycle of dependency, threatening the structure that is majorly dependent on student debts. So, what does the future hold? A happy ending where, despite the hurdles, you wake up one day as a debt-free individual to start fresh? We don't think so, and there's history to prove it. In 2007, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness (PSLF) was launched to reward people working in government and nonprofit organizations. Anyone who made 120 qualifying payments with 10 years of service was promised a debt-free life. But the reality was quite different. Almost 28,000 applicants applied, but only 96 were approved by 2018. Yes, just 0.3%. Similarly, many people support income-driven repayment plans that can help you get rid of your debts in 20 to 25 years. But they fail to understand that only up till 2021, merely 157 borrowers in the entire US had received forgiveness under IDR. So what is this all about? These are illusions of relief that our government likes to release as small band-aids every now and then. These reliefs are majorly filled with broken promises and nothing else. Most forgiveness plans face multiple bureaucratic hurdles and strict requirements, making sure that only a few get to experience them. And that, unfortunately, seems to continue for the foreseeable future. Is student loan forgiveness only a deferred dream? It seems so because promises are made but never fulfilled. However, it can turn into reality by changing law, politics, and economics. There is a need to reform these pillars to prevent this burden of debt from weighing down many generations to come. If you loved watching this video, like, comment, and don't forget to share your view on this topic. Plus, subscribe to this channel for more intellectual and thought-provoking content.